Hey, before you click on another video, let me ask you something strange. What if the person giving you advice about how to live was richer than almost everyone alive? Owned villas, ships, vineyards, dined with emperors, lent money to kings, and still wrote things like, "Poverty is not having too little, it is wanting more." Would you call that wisdom or hypocrisy? Because 2,000 years ago, in the heart of the Roman Empire, there lived a man who built a reputation for teaching calm, discipline, and inner freedom, while standing at the very center of power, wealth, and danger. His name was Seneca, philosopher, statesman, one of the richest men in Rome, and eventually a man ordered to die by his own student. This isn't just the story of a philosopher, it's the story of a man trying to practice Stoicism while swimming in luxury, politics, ambition, and fear. And by the end of this video, you might start wondering something uncomfortable. If Seneca struggled to live by his philosophy, what chance do the rest of us have? To understand Seneca, you have to picture Rome in the 1st century. The empire was exploding with wealth. Gold poured in from Spain. Grain ships crossed the Mediterranean from Egypt. Silk came from caravans thousands of miles away. Rome was the center of the world. But power in Rome was never stable. Emperors rose quickly and fell violently. All it took was a rumor, a conspiracy, a whisper in the wrong ear. Today you were a trusted advisor. Tomorrow you were a corpse. Seneca knew that world very well. He was born around 4 BC in the Roman province of Hispania, modern Spain. His father was a famous rhetorician, obsessed with education and public speaking. From childhood, Seneca was surrounded by ideas, philosophy, politics, debate. But he was also sick. For years, he suffered from severe breathing problems, possibly asthma. Some ancient writers even say he was so weak at one point that people thought he might die young. Imagine growing up constantly aware that your body might fail you. That kind of fragility changes how you see life. While other young Romans chased military glory or political ambition, Seneca became fascinated by philosophy, especially Stoicism. The idea that external things, wealth, fame, power, don't actually determine happiness. Only your character does, your judgments, your discipline, your ability to remain calm in chaos. Ironically, those ideas would soon be tested in the most political environment imaginable. Seneca eventually moved to Rome and began climbing the political ladder. He was brilliant, sharp, a powerful speaker. Soon he became a senator, but Rome wasn't a place where talent guaranteed safety. One day, he caught the attention of the Emperor Claudius, or more specifically, the emperor's wife, Messalina. Ancient historians claim she accused Seneca of an affair with a noblewoman. True or not, it didn't matter. In imperial Rome, accusations were often enough. Seneca was exiled, banished to the island of Corsica, far from Rome, far from influence, far from the world he had worked so hard to enter. Imagine building a career for decades and losing everything overnight. Most people would collapse under that kind of humiliation. But exile gave Seneca something strange. Time to write, time to think, time to refine the philosophy he had studied for years. During those lonely years on Corsica, Seneca wrote essays about anger, resilience, and the shortness of life. One of his most famous ideas came from this period. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about that. How many nights have you lost sleep worrying about something that never actually happened? How many conversations have you replayed in your head, creating disasters that exist only in your mind? Seneca believed the human brain was incredibly good at manufacturing its own suffering. Not from reality, but from fear of reality. After 8 long years in exile, something unexpected happened. Claudius's new wife, Agrippina, brought Seneca back to Rome, not out of kindness, out of strategy. She had a son, a young boy named Nero, and she wanted the best teacher in the empire to educate him. So Seneca returned to Rome to train the future emperor. For a while it worked. When Nero first became emperor at 16 years old, Seneca was one of the most powerful advisors in the empire. Many historians even say the early years of Nero's rule were relatively stable because of Seneca's influence. He tried to guide the young ruler toward moderation, justice, self-control. But power has a strange effect on people, and Nero was about to prove that. Over time, the young emperor grew more paranoid, more cruel, more unpredictable. He had rivals executed, critics silenced, eventually, even his own mother killed. Seneca watched all of this happen from the inside. Imagine the moral tension. You believe in virtue, restraint, and wisdom, but you're standing next to a man who controls the fate of millions. And that man is slowly descending into tyranny. Could Seneca have stopped him? Probably not. Could he have walked away earlier? That question still divides historians. But one thing is certain. Seneca eventually tried to retire from public life. He asked Nero for permission to step away, to return his wealth, to leave politics. Nero refused, and in Rome, refusing the emperor wasn't exactly safe. Then came the final turning point. In 65 AD, a conspiracy was discovered, and a group of senators and elites allegedly plotting to assassinate Nero, the famous Pisonian conspiracy. Whether Seneca was truly involved, historians still argue. But Nero didn't need certainty, he needed suspects. Seneca's name appeared. The emperor sent soldiers with a message, not an arrest. Not a trial, an order. Seneca was to take his own life. In Roman elite culture, this was considered a merciful death. You avoided public execution. Your family kept some honor. Still, imagine receiving that message. The student you educated, the emperor you advised, now ordering your death. According to the historian Tacitus, Seneca remained calm. Almost disturbingly calm. He gathered his friends, spoke with them, tried to comfort them. Not himself, them. Then he opened his veins. The blood flowed slowly, too slowly. Because of his age and frail health, so he drank poison. Still not enough. Finally, he entered a hot bath to accelerate the bleeding. Even in death, Seneca reportedly continued discussing philosophy. Imagine that scene. Steam filling the room, friends crying, and an old philosopher calmly speaking about the nature of life. Whether every detail is perfectly accurate, history can't say. But the image survived 2,000 years because it captured something powerful. A man who had spent his life writing about how to face death, finally having to do it. For real. This is where Seneca becomes fascinating, not because he was perfect, but because he wasn't. He wrote about simplicity while living among enormous wealth. He warned about power while advising an emperor. He preached calm while navigating one of the most dangerous political systems in history. He was a Stoic, trying to live in the least Stoic environment imaginable. And maybe that's exactly why his words still resonate. Because most of us aren't monks. We live in the real world. Careers, money, ambition, and pressure. Seneca knew that world. And he kept repeating one uncomfortable truth. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Think about that. We complain that life is short, but how much time disappears into distractions? Scrolling, worrying, comparing ourselves to others, waiting for the right moment. to start living. Seneca argued that life is long enough if you actually use it. The problem isn't time, it's attention. 2,000 years later, we're not dealing with emperors, but we still live inside systems of pressure. Deadlines, status, public opinion, digital noise, and yet the same Stoic question still cuts through all of it. What is actually under your control? Your reputation? Not really. Your income? Not completely. Your health? Only partially. But your judgments, your reactions, your character, those are still yours. Exactly the same insight the Stoics were repeating in ancient Rome. And maybe that's why Seneca's voice still feels strangely modern, because he wasn't writing from a quiet mountaintop. He was writing from the middle of chaos, just like us. So here's something to think about. Seneca spent his entire life teaching people how to live well. Yet the final chapter of his life was written by someone else's command, an emperor, a political system, circumstances beyond his control. But the way he faced that moment, that was entirely his. Maybe that's the real Stoic lesson. You don't control how the story ends, but you do control the way you walk through it. And sometimes, that's enough. If this story made you rethink something about power, philosophy, or even your own daily stress, write it in the comments. What part of your life feels outside your control right now? And what part might actually be yours? If you want to explore more stories like this, from Socrates questioning the streets of Athens to Marcus Aurelius writing reflections in a war tent, subscribe and stick around, because history isn't just the past. Sometimes it's a mirror, and sometimes it shows us exactly who we are.